Woke up this morning, stubbed my toe on hope. It was hiding by the dresser, guess I couldn't cope with seeing it first thing, all shiny and demanding, like a motivation poster that needs better understanding. My coffee tasted like ambition, slightly burnt and weak. My reflection whispered, better days don't even speak, till you've conquered that weird smell coming from the fridge door hinge, or figured out why socks vanish on a laundry binge. Oh, the legend of the better days, they're coming soon, they say, like a package you forgot you ordered, stuck somewhere halfway. They're riding unicorns, perhaps, or arriving on a breeze. But right now I'm just wrestling with today's awkward sneeze. So here's the plan, profound and grand, ridiculously clear. We'll tackle all that sunshine, one slightly frazzled day a year. No way, one day at a time, yeah, that's the slightly saner scheme. Just keep putting one foot forward, fueled by caffeine and a dream. I tried to make a vision board, it mostly looked like snacks and pictures of celebrities avoiding income tax. My grand plan for improvement gets derailed by shiny things, or the sudden urgent need to know who really sings.
Hi, good morning, guys. Good morning. Hey, MB is in the house. Smile, be happy. Cody, what is going on? Alan, Lack of Spot, and the others. It probably take time for people to adjust that I'm going live about an hour early now than we normally do, but with the time change a little bit back, I think people have been, off, and it gets to be a little late. So it is 8 in the morning in the United States, in the Philippines, and what's going on is it's going to be extremely hot today. They are warning it can get up to 108 again today. It was extremely, extremely hot. Can you guys hear that? Hold on. Political trucks. There it is. Kind of odd. Now they do start. The guy up the street starts about 6:30 in the morning. Let's see. It must be difficult for a expat with his wife in tow in the Philippines. Not sure what your statement means for an expat with his wife. So either you're a Filipino writing it meaning you're not using the his and her, or you're assuming George is an expat. Which is it, Luke? I'm not sure why don't you say what you really mean, by the way? So you must be a Filipino using the wrong his, her, him thing. But anyways, today I'm going to discuss a 4-year update of me being in the Philippines. Probably will discuss like leaving the United States, my regrets, what goes on here, what I do and what I don't feel that's changed in my life, and just go through kind of doing Q&As and everything. There's a bunch of different things going on. I don't think there's enough information out to really cover it the way we like to. They're doing more and more on the Korean expat where his life was ended over near the Walking Street area. And there are videos out with him on the ground and everything. And it looks like the mayor over there is trying to get people, like they put a sign out there. They're wanting it resolved in the next 48 to 72 hours, what happened. And if they do, I feel like they're just going to grab anybody. But they're claiming they're going to wrap this up in a short period of time because of what happened. Also, there was an American arrested in Cavite, and the deal with him is is in 1989, there was a disappearance or an offing of a little girl. They're not giving a whole bunch of information, a 7-year-old girl. The 69-year-old young Tom Talmadge from Cavite had a Hillsborough County warrant, and looks like immigration and investigators and all that grabbed a cup off of the table when they suspected it was him, and the DNA matched. So now they're taking him back. He has little to no information on the internet. There's no Facebook accounts that I could find. He's from Winter Haven, Florida, and they've arrested him based on this. So another expat hiding in. He was deep in the what I call the projects. Like, he was way down inside. Like, when you seen them walk in, it's one of those. It looks like Tondo to me. Real narrow walkways, little to no room to move around, and he's pretty much hidden back there. And to me, he's been hiding all these years. So, very interesting. So, besides the heat and those two things going on, yeah, I don't think there was another article this morning where they had discussed 60 to 68% of Americans could not afford an emergency, like over 1,000, 2,000 US dollars. That people's savings are getting tight in the United States. I don't know if it's that high, but it could be that there's a lot of people living paycheck to paycheck. I think the number's less, but in saying that, there are, and that's a lot of reasons that the people come to the Philippines, which would include us. George was running a business in the United States. He had lived there for over 25 years. He's a Filipino citizen, and the pandemic hit. And when this happened, it was not easy keeping employees. It was not easy going out and about. They started requiring permits and everything. At that time, we hunkered down, decided to take our savings, which was give or take enough to live on. We decided to go to Mexico. We drove over the border and drove in there when the country was closed. It was still closed over, I think, into the first year and a half that we were here. When we entered here, I believe it was 2020, 4 years ago. And we had to wait for the country to reopen because even George, as a Filipino citizen, could not return. So they had just locked everybody out at that time. Okay. So we came here and then used our savings, and we've been here ever since. So just retired, just hanging out. So I will get into that, and just discuss that. Yes, living paycheck to paycheck on retirement was not exactly our ideal, and we were going to do it like way down the road. So it wasn't our plan to come so early, but it actually has worked out for the most part. Okay. So I will go through some comments and then get back in there. Good morning, MB. What is going on? Smile and be happy. Hey, Cody Williams. What is going on? Alan is in the house again today. Hey, Lackaspod. What is going on? What is going on? One second here. Really love those curls. Yeah, I like wearing this. I have several wigs that I'm going to be wearing. I just like doing the costumes we always have. It's part of the antics, and it's, not out of the realm. Doing good, Victor. Good morning. Guess Luke is saying that it would be hard to avoid temptation. Okay, so you're discussing that you have a Filipina, but it must be difficult for an expat with his wife and child. It's the way that he worded it. That doesn't look like saying, hey, if you go to the Philippines, it would be rough to bring your wife, because that just doesn't happen. I only know of like 2 other YouTube vloggers that are American that brought their that American-Filipino couples that have come here, and both of them have sets of kids. Actually, no, the other one is both Americans that are in BGC. But he brought his wife. It would be tempting anywhere. It was just the way that it was worded with his expat wife in tow in the Philippines. So if that's what you're indicating, then yes and no. It wouldn't actually, for most, it wouldn't. If they're a cheater, they're a cheater. They would have cheated in the United States. You know, I've discussed this a bunch of times that women are women everywhere. Problems are problems with women everywhere. At the end of the day, men and women are difficult no matter what continent they're on. And with bringing your wife wouldn't have anything to play into it and tow to the Philippines. Yeah, that rarely happens, but it does. If I had to throw a number on it, maybe 1% does it. Maybe 10% would be high on the guys coming here. Most of the time, they're 99% single when they arrive out of a divorce or something else. So now there are Filipino expat couples that hook up when they get here to the Philippines down the road and everything, go back to the US and then bring them back later in retirement. But yeah, it just depends on the actual, personality. Doing good, feeling much better, getting some rest and everything. Yeah. So yeah, that I understand. Most definitely. Hey, sweet Caroline. Yeah, this is one of I got several different wigs. I don't wear them out and about. Now, I know women like tend to cut their hair super short, and I did joke about shaving my head, but it's 100 and something degrees. It'll be 47, I think they said Celsius today. 40. That's insane. 107. And I did adjust the electricity today, or not the electricity, sorry. I got to wake up, guys. I literally just woke up about an hour and a half ago. I adjusted the AC. I did go from 26 to 25 for the entire last month. The bill did jump when I had stated on air that it was a couple thousand pesos, but the previous bill was 7. I think I said 8. So when we looked it up, it was almost 7,000, and then it jumped to 11. So it was, well, no, that's about $80 higher. And it's because of the 1 degree. When I asked George, he said it wouldn't make a difference. And when I took the time to look it up and send a message to our AC guy, he said, yes, that'll make a difference in the bill. So because it's already on high, the fan's already there, it means, as I thought, that the air con is what they call it here, will struggle to keep the house at that 25 versus 26. And it did. So with the temperature raising outside, that did make a big difference, but it wasn't the whole problem. So when I put it back to 26, the house has still been staying cold. And so hopefully it'll drop it by about $40, and that's fine. Also, an update on this one lock has got me all twisted. The landlord, surprisingly, well, he's the guy that collects the rent and takes care of the houses. So the maintenance guy came over, but it came over like at 7:30 last night, and they brought an electrician that lives in our neighborhood, and I and George went through explaining what happened. We have, for those that don't know, we have a wall socket that's in the kitchen. We only have 2, one on each side of the kitchen. And it's a plug that I guess meets to the one outside the window wall where what's considered the dirty kitchen. There's only one plug there. And it's where we hook up the washing sometimes and whatever is plugged out there if we need to out in the dirty kitchen. And neither of those work anymore. So it appears to be the one thing. The breaker box seems to be fine. There is one opening. So they say they will fix it. I am unclear if I'm the one that's going to pay for it. And the reason being is they're not saying, because I asked also, there are 0 plugs in our bathroom, none. And I don't need to blow dry anything, but there is a water pump in there because there's no water pressure in this house whatsoever. Even downstairs, it practically trickles, which takes forever to do anything. Wash your hands, brush your teeth, which you don't want to use the water anyways, but rinsing the toothbrush and letting it dry out. But in order to have that plugged in, and instead of being in a heavy duty cord, which is powerful enough to handle it, I don't want to use extension cords to plug that in. And if I do want to blow dry my hair, I want to be able to do that, or anything else. Like, you can't even plug in the hot water heater that we have in there. So we don't have any hot water in the bathroom with the outlets all being out. So they have ours is low end, and you have to keep it at low end temperature, because anything higher will blow the cord. So we have a heavy duty cord that holds, I think it's 5,000. It's 5,000 watts. So you have to watch it, because if not, it trips the electric breaker. So he will install it. The good news is it's 1,500 pesos, which is $25. So that seems like a deal to me, because if you bring an electrician in the United States and they set something up from the breaker and run a line and everything, it's going to cost you. So that's good news. So that will be fixed, but I don't know when. He says I'll do it tomorrow, and George just looked at me. I looked at him, or he didn't say he would do it tomorrow. He said another day. So, and then he left. So that's the Philippines. When people come over to do any service cleaning or whatever, or if we have something looked at, we just never know when they're going to come back, guys. So that's where we're at on that situation. Okay, so I got you on that, Luke. Tell us all the places you've been in the Philippines, the best and least. I have only been in Pampanga. For the most part, I haven't gotten on an airplane. I haven't gotten on long distance buses. I have been to Manila. I've been to BGC and Makati, two different areas when we went to Google. So I've been to BGC, Makati, Subic Bay. There's a beach out there. And then here in Angel City, Mabalacat, Tarlac. So these are about as far as I've gone. Now, there are reasons for me. First, we were locked down for the first couple years. And then when they opened it up, and just seeing the things that are going on, I don't like the thought of traveling. I have an autoimmune issue. And to get on a bus, when you get to the bus, there could be delays. There's delays if you get on the boats. I listen to Calvin all the time discuss this. When he goes somewhere and you have to take the boat to get to this, traveling in the Philippines is not easy. It is not an easy process for somebody disabled. It's not easy. It shouldn't be taken lightly. I'm concerned with transport in general, the traffic. Like when me and George go somewhere, it seems like it takes 30 minutes to go 10 miles or something. So I don't like the traffic situation. Also, what's been my concern is people with driver's license here and being professional when they drive. It's not everybody, but it is a concern and should be a concern. Over the Easter holiday, 695, I may be off, one or two people were fined, assessed, and arrested for drug use, no license. And these are bus drivers, cab drivers, and trike drivers. And these people were found, there's a list of how many were fined for each thing, but they found issues with them. So I'm concerned about all the videos that are out there and people telling us how the drivers are having these accidents. There are deadly crashes. It would happen in the United States, but it's happening here way more. And just the Philippines island is small. I mean, it's not what people think. I thought it was smaller, but my whole deal is the safety of transport here. So then I'm worried about the safety transport. And again, my illness plays a factor, but I've been to those areas. So I liked Subic a bunch. So Subic was really nice. And I like being here in Mabalacat. So we're really close to the airport and everything. So, but my plans was never to travel. George's was never to travel. We both traveled the world. We've both done all of our vacationing, sowed our oats, sowed our corn, whatever you want to call it. It was never a plan. So when people decide to come here for retirement, if that's their plans to go see the island and go from place to place to place. I think a lot of people that do this are people that had not, like, where they had worked their entire life and never took the time to go on vacations and all that. They get around and go these places. I think it's men that get here and they start dating these younger women. And like, I just seen a guy the other day, a vlogger that we watch. He's got a 20-year-old girlfriend now, and I think he's near 60 something. He's collecting Social Security, and she had never even left her area. So now she's officially traveling around the Philippines. She lives in the Philippines and never did anything her entire life. So, but I think it's guys like that and vloggers that get around to vlog and to take their women places, and they're sowing their new oats. And it's kind of a mix. So what is up? What is up, up, up? Good morning. Retirement. So, like I said, me and George's plans were to come here after he received his Social Security, which he earned. He was a legal resident in the United States. And for those that have asked, no, he was not a U.S. citizen. His parents are, his sisters are, and they are dual. I believe one of them are dual citizens. So George was born and raised in the Philippines, went to college here, worked here, and I think he was close to 20 when he went to the United States. So he lived there for 26, 27 years, and his family's well established here and there. And there was no plans to come here till way later. Then the pandemic happened. During the pandemic, we ended up getting married. We kept 2 residences, and we decided with X amount in the bank, which was under 100,000 US dollars, that we were going through it because we were paying expenses for George's business that he had for 10 years. And at that point, the employees were impossible to keep. They were taking those bouts of money, them $2,000 checks, and just nobody wanted to work. They were afraid. And then he could not get contracts with other people. So they no longer wanted people. And so then they started saying essential workers. And then we were down to just a few people. And I was like, you're bleeding money and you're working long hours. Most of it, he kept commercial contracts with big companies. And then he was doing all the work, and it was just getting crazy. He couldn't get anybody to come into the office. And at that point, I was just like, let's take the savings. He had a part-time online job, and we were doing YouTube as fun. And then we said, let's go to Mexico, where the money will actually last longer until the country reopened. We spent 6 months in Mexico. We drove over the border. It was empty. We have footage. We do have the videos available where we drove across the border, and we lived there 6 months until the country reopened. We arrived here. We both got locked down separate in a hotel room for the 10 days, and they made us pay for separate rooms. Why we were in the separate rooms, a lot of people were complaining about that. They were separating. You had to have, if you had a wife, kids, and you had to stay in separate rooms. They were charging that way. And we ended up paying $1,200 to stay in a so-so hotel in Angel City. And me and George, I think George had the big C again. And then, so we both had it twice. He was vaccinated. I was not. It was actually, there was no requirement for vaccination when we entered. And so after that, let's see, we ended up staying in an Airbnb. Then we went looking around, and I highly recommend those that come here that they use Airbnbs, and that way you can see the neighborhood you want to be in. And then we got a place. We were there, I think, like a year, and the woman was remodeling, painting, doing outside work to the building, and pretty much we were booted. So we ended up moving here, where we've been a few years. So we're a couple miles away from the other place. We're about 2 miles from the airport, about 1.5 miles from the walking street, Angel City, and you go the other direction downtown. So we're central. But so that's pretty much what happened. Is I am on Social Security disability, and a lot of people ask questions, and I'd be more than glad to answer whatever questions. If you guys are rewatching this, you can leave the comments. Basically, I am on the work credit ones, which means I've worked my entire life, and that's what they're basing my Social Security off of. And it is a permanent disability that I've received a letter for. So they've already assessed that it's not going to get better. It will only decline over the years. And then once I thought it was 62, but now I'm reading that it won't flip over till I'm 70 to regular Social Security. The amounts won't change, but it just means it'll go from one to the other. Um, we did keep several banks on the outside of the United States. Now we just changed to a direct deposit, so I can answer questions on that. Why? Because we don't hold a residence there. We didn't own property. We both have kids. He has kids over there. Um, I have kids. We were prior married. And on top of that, he has kid here. All of his family is here. There's a family compound. All of his family live in another area here in Angeles City. And it's let's see what else. So we don't have any property to send like mail and everything else. And so we decided to, instead of transferring the money every month and then whatever money, we just leave that. So we have direct deposit here now for the Social Security. So that's what's going on with that. And then the thing with that is if you have direct deposit for Social Security um, from the United States, you have to go and show a physical passport. It's not on a debit card like it was before. And you have to go in. They like take a photo of me with my passport, and it's kind of odd, but it's done that way because there have been men married before with it, and their Filipina continued to take money out of the account for a while. And so they changed the rules a long time ago. It's called a passbook account. Um, I'm on permanent residency for being married to George, is the status that I'm actually on now. So I ended up renewing my visa for a few years as a tourist, which is something people should be concerned about now because they're really cracking down on status. So for the people that are staying here 3 years, leaving the country, going out and doing that for the last 10, 20 years, they're wanting them to either get their SRRV, their retirement visa, or they need to be in a status of married or work status and all of that. So most definitely. So so the channel has been mostly based on just us living here. We play around, we have fun. It's about the retirement and especially with me being a female retired expat and disabled, we've been able to help a lot of people. During the pandemic, when there was a quarter of the vloggers here, we used to talk to people on the phone. We still do, and do videos, and we really helped a lot of people. And that is the establishment of our channel. Now there's a million and one vloggers. Mostly it's channels about, they put out what's going on. Basically, it's just a duplicate of the same thing. You have the expat help channels that mix their personal life, and so it's become an overflooded genre. And so now mostly we just do live streams to answer questions, have fun, say what we want. And currently George has been working, visiting family. He's got a gaming channel that he does. He has multiple channels, and he's been extremely busy here lately. So here, probably the last few months, I've been doing live streams on my own. So, but that's what's been really going on. And then I will discuss here in a little bit about, well, what actually has changed and adjustment. And the biggest thing that stayed the same is it's inexpensive to live here. So in the beginning, I was very intolerable when it came to everything going on here. I mean, everything bothered me. And I used to, like, one of our biggest videos is the pros and cons. And it's really hilarious. We're sitting down at a table eating, and I'm talking about what I don't like. And now it's become more tolerable for me because I had to make way. You have to adjust your life to what you need. Like at that point, we only had AC in one room. No, I've got filters in the house now, air purifiers, because of the amount of dust and smog and smells outside. There's just different things going on. So you have to adjust everything. You have to, like, find the places you want to go, how you want to go there. You learn from taking the grabs, the cabs, the jeepneys, and adjusting to the transport. Still don't like that. They have improved on having things delivered. Why? Because I can't rely on George all the time, whether he's sleeping. He's a very independent person. And I've had to learn to do everything. Usually, Filipinas help their expats. George has helped me do things. But pretty much I've had to do a lot of things on my own, and I've always been independent, and George has always been independent. So, but yeah, so there is ways now that I can have things delivered from Landers. So we get 1 or 2 orders of wholesale items like, like toilet paper, cat litter, bottled water, and that's done once or twice a month. And like we get frozen food items, you learn where to get your meats. We have a market that's nearby, like a market that happens. And there is what else do we have done? Couldn't pay the electric bill forever. Like we would have to go all the way over to the grocery store or to the electric company. If you go to the electric company, Pelco is here. It would take, like when George would go, it would take like an hour. He would have to sit there and wait to pay. And it's like that got to be irritating. So we were able to pay it, I think, once through Gcash, but something happened. So we weren't able to. Something locked up. We had a hard time. But now officially there's another company we can. So now it's become easy to do that. It was difficult to get medications because usually you'll get a weeks at a time, 2 weeks at a time. But if you try to get 30 or 60 days worth of pills here for like heart medication and the other medicines that I take, it's almost an impossible. I have to go to the pharmacy like 3 times a month to get the meds. Now I'm doing some of it online, and I've had better luck at doing that. So things have improved, most definitely. Ugh. Whew, look at me. Whew. All right, drink time. Need more coffee. That's what's going on. So I've adjusted a lot. Life has actually, you have to make do. Now, I started freaking out the other day because when the power outlets went, then that's the area where, that the stove is plugged into. That's, the items that were plugged in the bathroom and different things just all went out. And so you just adjust to everything. And there's been more power outages. So now the power is going down for about 15 minutes at a time. And the reason is I thought it was because the holiday passed. It's because the weather is so hot, everybody's using the electricity, the grids are going down, they're old. And so it goes down for 15 minutes, your house overheats, and it does in a short period of time. And then when it comes on, we have our items plugged into a power pack, because if you don't and the surging happens, then your items can fry when the electricity comes back on. So our major appliances we have plugged into that. That way there's no surges that hit it. And it's been happening over and over again. And so the longest power outage in this area was about 12 hours, and it happened a few times in 1 month. So we have battery backups for that. We had a generator, but it's not working. So we have to get another one, but I don't like dealing with the gasoline for it. So John Ryder, what's going on? We are feeling the pressure of the prices now. Just bought cat food and litter. It's insane. Sad that many people might give up their pets because they can't survive themselves. Well, remind me again, are you in the US or here in the Philippines? Because it's high. Elections. That's something I could not handle. The very first year we were here, that's when they elected in Bong Bong. And there were trucks and posters everywhere. And there's another election again, and it's extremely loud. Like I said, it starts about 6:30 in the morning, where the trucks will just go around the neighborhoods, and kind of insane. But yeah, so back to the pets. it's expensive here, and the one of the cheaper cat foods is 100 and something pesos for a kilo. And we have the cats in the inside, and there's a bunch of what I call strays or homeless outside. Another half a dozen are outside. And so at $2 for that, it adds up. So now we just get an oversized 20 kilograms, and it costs 40 or $50 for the cat food. That's high to the average Filipino. And my God, what is going on? And then the other is um, the cat litter too. I want to say that that is about $6 a bag. And so again, these it's just really expensive if you have pets in the Philippines. So that I think that's why a lot of them we're finding outside right now. They just let them go do their business outside, and a lot of them they keep them as outdoor pets. The same with dogs. There was about 8 dogs entangled fighting outside about 2 days ago, and they all came out at once. It was weird. And I think people let them out to feed, go play, or whatever, and there was 2 of them attached to each other. I guess they were breeding, and this other dogs another pack of dogs came up and attacked him, and the poor dog took off, and the other one was attached, and it was comical at the same time as very sad, the amount of, strays that are out there, so, yeah. Where is George's wig? Good morning. Can't wait to visit one day. Yeah, there's another one that we have that I've used, the long one that Ricky uses, and then the blonde one. He did not, I'm just gonna be honest, he did not like that last wig. I had gotten that with an intention to use it, and I said, with it being blonde and chopped, I said, just pretend that you got a haircut before you came from California. We call him he's the Ricky character, and he came from California. And I said, well, just pretend you have a new do. I'm telling you what, he fought me on that one. And then afterwards, he says, I just don't like it. I'm like, well, dude, I said, you could have put on the other wig, and he didn't go and get it. And yeah, so he used to wear sunglasses with it, and he stopped doing that. And so, yeah, I think he's like, so no, the other blonde wig was meant for me, and he didn't like it, and so sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So let's see. I like these earrings. Yes, I spoke about that in the beginning. I believe, let me take a look here. I believe the mayor says they've got 48 hours to solve that. Go think about that. Think about a mayor telling somebody that in the United States. I'm going to tell you right now what's going to happen. And if George was here, he would say they're just going to find a random person. And they will, because the Korean government's having a fit, and tourism will just like plummet because a lot of Koreans go there, a lot of Koreans, and they spend a lot of money. Most of those bars are Korean, and a lot of the clients are Korean. There's even some that actually discriminate to the point of only letting Koreans in. And so I'm telling you, they're going to do a manhunt for sure. I believe they said 48 hours was the. Let me see if I can find it. But I don't know if you guys seen the videos that are out. Here's the thing. He said they swiftly got him to the hospital, and there were several reports it took an hour to get an ambulance in the city. And so he's like, we swiftly got him to the hospital. No, he laid there for a while. The video showed it. And I was like, oh, okay. But it's funny. I 100% believe in people would rather believe in lies than the truth, and it just gets buried on top of lies. And it's like it can be right there in front of the average person, and they're watching the video, and then the next person says it didn't happen. Oh, okay, it didn't happen. It's just where social media is right now. Yeah, I urge all Korean Americans. Let's see. I'm gonna see. Well, somebody was urging them not to. Oh, when did that happen? trying to see where this was. There was another attack. Okay, I'm probably not going to be able to find it. Not on air, but I believe they said they had 48 hours to resolve the murder. Is what he's addressing the police and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, they're going to find somebody. They're just going to find somebody. What is up? What is up? That curly hair and color looks good on you. Thank you. Thank you so much. And my purple eyeshadow. I usually don't wear any, but I was just trying to match things. So I'm going out later. Yeah, it's going to be, according to them, it's 42 or 47 it's going to hit. I think they said 42. And that's insane. It's when I calculated earlier, it was 107, and it was hot yesterday. I used to keep my AC at 27. Yeah, I tried 27, and it was just stifling. And the only way to know the difference was to go outside. And I am a over 50 female that is plus size big, and I have already got issues going on in lupus, and it just makes my skin like pins and needles on that kind of measurement. So it's 26 seems to do good, and we have a fan here and there's a fan in the kitchen to circulate it. So like I said, our previous place, the electric bills were so high that we only kept one room and it was 12 hours a day. When we got here, we got a split air con that cools the entire downstairs, including the bathroom and everything, and it just circulates the air. And with the fans, it does help. On average, at the other house, we were paying for 12 hours a day in one room is the same price I just paid this month. We were paying 10 or 11,000 pesos, and that was 2 years ago. So, and now that was the highest bill we ever had, but I never dropped it to 25 for the entire month, and it's never been this hot. So, there was something else going on. I mean, the filters have been clean. We've had the unit clean, like you could clean the pipes, and you can, like I clean that every 2 weeks. It comes down, it gets clean, the filters. And so, and to keep extra dust off of that, like I said, we have 2 air purifiers. So, for people that talk about us having multi pets and too many pets, they mostly stay upstairs, and the air purifiers, it picks up really well. That's one of the items that we listed in our list of products that we actually use. There should be a list somewhere. I don't know if it's attached like t-shirts. I mentioned that the last time, but it's like $40 an air purifier. Now the filters cost just as almost as much as the air purifier, like $25, but they last forever. Like we clean them and everything and shake them out, every week or two. So yeah, but it's going to be hot. Hey, Luke, my electric bill costs as much as my rent. I was last there, closer to California, still cheap like the Philippines, just not as cheap. Yeah, the electric bill is high. That's the problem I have is my biggest pet peeve now is I stay because it's cheap. I stay because my husband is a Filipino and the people are nice, and it's a lot easier going, and it's cheap. That's what I'm going to keep telling you. It's cheap, but you deal with infrastructure issues, the power outages, and for the first couple years, you're either going to be able to deal with it or not. Well, evidently, I've dealt with it, and I'm still here, but I'm getting a little disturbed, like all the other expats or the vloggers that are saying it, and the people we talk to, that the electric could cost more than your rent. And that's if you use things like Westerners do. And the costs are going up, whether it's a Filipino store, whether it's a expat-based store or some expat running it, the prices are going up. And here's another thing. The actual peso versus the dollar is starting to drop. So I think me and George had a disagreement on this. I thought when we entered the country, it was at 42. I think he said wasn't so. Might have been closer to 46 when we entered the country. So anything over 50 is a good day, but it is dropping. It went from 59, and I think it's down. What is it this morning, guys? 56, 54, 53. It's going down, and the dollar is getting weaker, I think is the wording. And so I suspect we're going to drop under 50 again. So at this rate, unless things change. So in the US. And that's another reason I left, was just a bunch of in between politics, the wokeness going on, the costs. Like our children are suffering over there. Rents went up double, triple right now on all family members. Now, his family owns houses. I have some family members that own houses, but then you have all the other costs. Like our phones literally cost under $10 to actually have them. And then the internet costs us about 40 or 45 a month, where it was 100 a month in the United States. Our trash was 40, 50, or 60 with there was other services that came with it, and here we pay $5 a month. Now it's difficult to get them to come, being it's not a service, but you deal with issues. You're definitely going to deal with issues. I gotcha. Just reading through here. Ah, sweet. 66 is my happy temperature. I definitely not built for the Philippines. Most aren't. Westerners are not built for the weather. I didn't even know that based on nose structure and where you come from makes a difference when you can tolerate weather, because it's true. Like the one thing that people deal with when they get here that's not talked about is the dreaded flu cold that you constantly have when you get off the airplane. A lot of expats are dealing with what appears to be some sort of flu, and it's still happening to me. So you get where your eyes are dried out all the time, they're itchy, your skin is itchy, your nose is clogged up, it's runny, you have a sore throat, you're coughing all the time. It's because the air pollution is bad here. And there's always something burning in all cities. Even out in the province, they burn trash, plastic, and everything else. We're in an area where this actually happens. And so 1 second here. Sounds like a delivery. And so there's like a dreaded flu situation going on. So, um, and so based on your nose, I guess the wider the nose is, the more they can tolerate the humidity and heat and everything. Well, I'm from up north. I'm from Ohio. It's where it snows and everything else. My nose was based on being there, although I have a pretty wide, flat nose. It's kind of hard to see it, but I still can't breathe out of it. And the older that I get, your face starts to sink down. So I guess I need the nose strips. I'll find myself doing this all the time, trying to clear what appears to be sinus issues. So I go through a lot of sinus medication, nasal sprays, and every time I go out with my autoimmune issue that I have is my major issue, I'm sick every time. Every time I take hand sanitizers if I can. George got me a spray that's hooked onto my backpack that I wear around, and it's just like I'm always sick. So, yeah. But I wish when I met George and the first time I ever went to his house after we'd been together for a few months, it took that long to get to George's house. He was a super personal person. That I think he kept his AC in the house at 79 or something in Florida. And when the pandemic happened and he would go out to work, I would drop that to like 74, 73, 72. I mean, I would drop it, and it was still never higher than the electric bills we're paying here. And then I would drop it even more. So I always kept it cold. I always kept it cold. So yeah, that's like right now I'm itching, and it's even before we had cats, if we kept the door open part of the day, it seems like we're covered in some sort of dust and dirt. It's coming off the roads. George says it's still from the Lahar, with the volcanoes acting up, and from Pinatubo, it's still causing issues. But it just seems like an inch of dust everywhere. So then I think there's mites and different things. So air purifiers are almost a must. So that is for sure. See, now it got me thinking. Mm, planes are the best way if they don't get like canceled or something else. But yes, it's the best way. Here's the thing. I eventually would like to go to Boracay. But have you seen that airport there and how things are handled? And then you need other forms of transport to get around after that. I just don't think I could handle all the standing around in the heat. And these days, with my medical issues, I don't even know if I would want to go through that. I've already been to beautiful places, and I will have to wait it out to see if I'm gonna travel those type of trips. For me, it's not. It's just, I'll live vicariously through the next vlogger on that crap. I just don't. I can't see. I'd rather spend the money on a bigger situation, like tricking out our car or something, or getting 20 more wigs than to do that. I'm more about comfort creatures, saving it for the next high electricity bill or something, that'd make mommy happy. So not sure what your question is, but MX is, oh, I think you're talking to the other person. Couldn't do that from the Philippines. Oh, you're talking about Mexico is cheap. I found that Mexico was cheaper. That's another thing. When we left Mexico and we got to the Philippines, things doubled on us. So the Philippines is, give or take, now half as cheap as the United States. When we were in the Philippines, it was three quarters, or when we were in Mexico, it was three quarters cheaper. It was just really cheap. We lived in a one-bedroom apartment. The electricity was included. We had a unit that had AC or heat. We could run it anytime. We had a gas stove. We had internet that was included and cable. Like they had like stations running through as a basic cable in there. We paid $100 for that. Now we're paying 500, okay, including all those items. Um, Electricity, rent, the internet, the trash guy, give or take about 500 a month. So it is a big difference. And the last that George knew, the best he could tell me, and the vloggers, there was only, like I said, there's only about 25% vloggers that there are now, back then, that were saying what the costs were. And remember, a lot of those vloggers back then were just trying to get numbers. They were like juicing up their channels and how good it was. And when I got here, none of them counted. The closest that I found was giving some points was Calvin from Sunshine Shoulders, Geo in the Philippines, and we were watching Philly in the Philippines. And then the other one was, what was the other person that we were getting information? Let's see, Philly, Calvin, Geo, Old Dog. Now, Old Dog likes to, where he's got these different guests on there and everything, but he was still spinning truths on life in the Philippines and cost. So, you take the good and the bad with each channel. You take the information that you need and try to decipher. That's why we always say watch multiple channels. But I didn't find it to be like super helpful when I got here. And George was like, I told you. And then he just left me to swim. So basically, George is very passive person and quiet. He's either loud about things or he's quiet. So I had to figure things on my own. I didn't have a Filipina. I've said this before, to suck my duck. I don't have somebody rubbing my back and doing my dishes. I don't have anybody doing any of the daily stuff. I still was responsible for everyday life and bills and everything else. And pretty much George is just a good time boy. So, meaning George came here for retirement, and he let me know that he came here for family and retirement, and he helps. He's a good husband, but pretty much if you ask George to do something, it could take days to get something done. He's on Filipino time. He always has been. He'll plan for his funeral 6 months after he's gone. It's just where it is with him. So I've had to track along on my own, to be expected. But some of the things really hit hard, like the weather. I'm going to tell you right now, the weather is rough. If there's one thing that's going to drive me home ever, is that. Then you're dealing with the weather. Okay. or not the weather, but the medical. Sorry, I was trying to take you down at the same time, do two things at once. The weather, and in saying that, hey, there's my Louis loop. In saying that, medical, getting medicine and all that, appointments being canceled, setting those appointments is a little more difficult. I do basic, like where I go in, have blood work. I see a few specialists here and there. It's fairly inexpensive, but your Medicare covering things, the insurance you had in the United States, most of the time you have to be reimbursed for these items later, and Medicare does not work. Depending on the supplement, how long you're here, and all that will factor on all of that. So check with your Medicare and your supplement that you're able to hold on to. Some of them have been known to pay if you've only been outside the country for so long, and they will cover only a certain amount. Like I think it's a couple million pesos. You'll have to find out. So insurance becomes difficult, self-pay. But I haven't found it to be a problem, even with all my medical problems. Pretty much when I left Mexico and the United States, I knew that when it's my time, it's my time. My medical, whatever happens, I doubt that I would go back to the United States for any medical, not surgeries, not it's it's just you have to make a decision, what type of medical, how you're going to do it. Most Filipinos here will take an aspirin, and that's pretty much it, like George said, and drink coffee, and then that's pretty much it. So but I don't know. There's a lot to digest. Hi, sweetie. You want to say hi? You want to say hi, Easter? Come here. She come up here. Say hi, Easter. How's your dirty eyes going? There's my little bobtail. Hi, bobtail. Hi, here it comes. Here it comes. Dun, 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 dun. You want to race? You give me a kiss? You give me a kiss? Oh, please. Oh, please. Look. Look, you're on camera. It's me. It's me, Easter. Yeah, it's me. Mm-hmm. Easter is our new kitten, and she gets fixed, and mommy cat gets fixed on Saturday. George is looking forward to that. So there's a vet's office. It's called Ciao, CIAO, that they're going to. And then the kittens get fixed in July, because we have to wait until they're 4 or 5 months old. And Mary is still up in the air. The rest of them are fixed. So yeah, all the others are fixed. So here, Tagatai is nice, and Chocolate Mountain and Baguio. Yeah, it's for me. I'm just going to be honest. Even if I wasn't this big, I'm super lazy on that, and uh, but mostly it's my medical that causes me from doing excessive travel. So, I mean, I'd be more disappointed. Like my lupus was a diagnosis about 3-4 months before we left, and I already needed knee replacement, and I've needed it for a while. So those items would have factored in before the lupus got worse. So literally by 12 o'clock, I'm tired. I push myself to do all things cleaning, taking care of the pets in the morning, all that stuff in one swoop, because I can barely lift my hands after a certain time. So it's really been hard. Like, we've met up with people want to meet up with us. And if we have something that goes on in the morning, it's hard to make those appointments after a certain time. So it's mostly just fatigue that gets me. But I hear they're beautiful, and I've seen the videos. So Baguio is a place I wanted to move to, but the issue is a lot of the roads, like George said, it's hard to drive them. It's hard walking up and down them, and the cost has really risen in those areas. Mm. It's a whole different airport than when we arrived. They were working on it just as we came here 4 years ago, and they've totally remodeled it. Yes, it's really, really nice. Travel can be cumbersome in the Philippines, especially it being an archipelago and not a big landmass. A lot of boats, trike rides. Subic used to be a U.S. base, so the infrastructure, for the most part, it is. But yes, it's, it's a short distance for us to get there, and it was really interesting. And we had footage of that in one of our videos a couple months ago or last year. I'm trying to remember how long it's been since we went there, but it does. And a lot of the vloggers do not discuss this. They kind of leave out the transport thing. They'll touch on it, but like us, we have thousands of videos. A lot of people won't go look through our videos to hear us say that, but it should be touched on that transport is very difficult here in the Philippines. It's, I'm really shocked when I hear people get motorcycles. It's dangerous. These guys are coming here in their 60s and getting on a motorcycle, and it's the other drivers they should be concerned about. Oh, I'm a professional driver. And then next thing you know, they wipe out and they're having injuries. I could count probably every third, fourth vlogger that's wiped out on their bike at least once here. And you get wiped out by other unexpected vehicles. They're crazy here. The jeepneys will run you down, the other trike drivers. It's very dangerous period to drive here. Then taking transport, people, if they're the super cheap Charlies, they're getting on the jeepneys and they're trying to hold tight like a Filipino. And there's so many things for Westerners not to be taking those type of transports. Then you have Grab. Grab was good for us in the beginning. We still use it on the occasion. The problem I have with it now is if you go to certain malls and certain areas you're dropped off of, they want you to go on the other side of the mall now to be picked up. They don't pick up where they used to, and they're changing the pickup points in certain areas. And it's become more difficult to get a hold of them. Like the drivers are so underpaid now that if you call for them, they just cancel out on you. And so it's hard to get cars. It could take a half hour in this area or 40 minutes just to get picked up. And so for me, that's a little bit more difficult. And then you have your cabs and everything else. So George was, God, how long has it been since he was given that car? It wasn't this past Christmas. It was a Christmas before. His brother, they gave George a used car. It was one of his brothers. He had like 3 cars, and it was highly maintenance, and his sister in the US had bought it for him. Like, in other words, she paid his brother, and because he was going to sell it anyway, she goes, "Hey, I'll buy it." And so they gave it as a Christmas gift to him. It's been nice. It's a smaller car. It's a lot like a Rabbit. It's really super, super small. It's really super small. And for me being 6 foot tall and really plus size, it's hard to get in and out of it. But I am thankful that we have it to use. So it's a quick go-to. And then when we go long distances like Makati, BGC, or Manila, we do hire in a car. It's with the tip about $150 US round trip. So we do that. So, but it's difficult. I can't even imagine. And with the ferries and everything, they overload them. People don't want to wait for the next one. They let too many people on. It tips or sinks, and that's been scary too. It's happened. It happens and does happen. There's a lot of. I just sit home and watch cartoons and drink a beer, man. I love your intro to your podcast. Makes me laugh. Thank you. Yeah, the music we actually create ourselves. It is, we write the lyrics, come up with the ideals, the sounds that we want, and then we have AI create it with the instruments. But it is our music. It is legal to sell because it's created. The only thing we don't do is we don't sing and we don't actually play the individual instruments. But who does anymore in the studios, But it's put together and we like it, and it is available for people to use. If you guys are vloggers, just type Philippine Antics under the YouTube studio library and it'll come up with our music. So along with we don't expect to sell any. It's just there for use is the other music. We produce it through what's it called? The record company. Hey, what is going on, Harry? What is going on? Hey. What is going on? Does that mean Sarah's in the house? Did I miss that, Sarah? With me not having the tablet open and George not being here, I can't see people in advance. Starting to get warmer. Was it really snowing again? And yes, guys, if you guys have not subscribed, make sure you subscribe and be sure to comment. It keeps the algorithm going. And to do your likes, comments. Appreciate it. Hey, Heidi, do you guys enjoy canned mackerel? I saw it on a shelf at my grocery store. Yes, we do. And also canned salmon. So, most definitely, it's something. Here's the thing, that is something I struggle with. Like I said, everything bothered me when I got here. It's because I've lived in the United States my entire life. I've traveled to other countries for, I think the longest I was gone was for a month, and that was in the Middle East, and I've traveled other places, but you're able to go back. And I was so used to a certain way of life, it is hard to adjust. So like when somebody leaves here now and they go, the Filipino goes to the United States, they do the exact same thing. Everybody has a transition period. Except for I keep hearing, oh, just suck it up from these guys. But these guys have been here a while. They've lived here 5, 10 years. And it's a little different because again, these men have the women that are doing everything. See, I didn't have all of that. I'm the one that had to continue to do everything and suck it up. So it was a hard adjustment for me, but I've done it and it's getting way easier. But the heat and everything, and you learn on the grocery shopping. That's what I was starting to get around to is like if I don't like buying the meat in the market. It's scary because if you don't go at 5, 6 a.m., like when it first opens the market, then the meat's just sitting out there and it's awful humid. And I don't want to take a chance of meat sitting in the open air market at any point. A lot of expats don't, even Filipinos kind of delay on buying that. So I started to get it from the stores, but even the stores, it's like when we go into the SM market, the meat actually hits you. Like when you walk through the door, it has a half rotten smell. So I didn't even want to buy it there. So we started getting a lot of frozen stuff, which mm, frozen has its own issues, but canned was the next thing that we started to do. So tuna, canned salmon, canned mackerel, the mackerel in the cans, and so there's always like this evil situation of like which meats to get and all that. So shopping, we were getting it from all different directions, but at some point it's just cheaper for us to get the fried chicken, to get the like we'll get the whole roasted chickens, which I find to be safe. We were using certain barbecue companies that we could like rely on, like the ones that were nearby our house, and we've kind of found our way around that. Hey, McLovin, where have you been? Thank you, like a spot. The Philippines section of my grocery store is interesting to me. Yeah, and that's going to be going up in price. That is for sure. That is 100% sure. Um, I imagine quite a bit. Now that I think about it, when me and George used to go to the Asian stores in Florida, the items that I'm buying that now is way, way cheaper. So I would probably, I guesstimated when I seen somebody do a video recently and they showed recent prices, it is 4 to 5 times higher. So when you get here, that same small bag of chips they're charging you $1 for is 20 cents here. And so I get the import thing, but it's kind of insane. But remember that importer is paying, to bring it in, and then, they've got their store to run, they've got their high cost and everything. But yeah, it's a fraction of the cost. So I'm old neighbor in Maracana had SSI and kept that on a hush. Yes, that's another thing. We know there's a lot of expats. Not a lot. I always use that in the term a lot. A lot for me means knowing there's more 3, 4, 5 out there that are in a circle of people. These guys do take a risk and they're coming here on what's called the low income SSI. They're not only disabled getting that, or there is SSI that doesn't inquire disability. They never worked enough credits to get Social Security. It's called the welfare based Social Security. And you're not supposed to leave the country more than 30 days. And so they break that and they come over here and they've been collecting checks for years. And so it does happen. It really does. And there's dangers in having Social Security disability like I do, because if you have a fairly new disability that hasn't been proven since birth, like me, then you're taking a risk that you're going to get assessed and all that, and you're going to end up in Manila, and you're going to get, where they're going to do a total review, and you're making a trip to Manila and all that. So, and so, yeah, it's something people should consider, but there's a lot of them on disability too, for Social Security that do qualify for it, and they've got themselves, they still have the, you know, it's really tricky when it comes to that. You have to make sure that you do qualify to leave the country. How are the banks in the Philippines? Can you choose more than one bank branch? Um, Here's the thing. One of our banks is Metro, and that's the business account George has for his like he has payments coming in. And then the other is Philippine National Bank that we have here. I was just advised, a lot of people may not even be aware of it, that we have to use the branch here. Somebody said, I'm unsure of this. They said this happened recently, that it's not like, remember, forget about what happens in the United States. That shit's right on out the door. If we want to go and we're in Manila, supposedly they won't even see our account there. Supposedly we can't even withdraw if we physically walk in. We have to do it in this area. So whatever bank you open it up at least that bank, then it's a possibility. So I can't answer for each individual bank. It is difficult now that I have permanent residency and cards that prove it. Now, beforehand, when I first got here in the first year or two, forget about me opening up an account. Now you'll have other expats and vloggers will say, "Oh, I did it, no problem. This and that. I laid down my money and he gave me the account." Well, when we went to go open up the Social Security one, it took a while. It took more than a month and 2 trips in. And when we opened up a second account for me, I had to fill out the application. I had to get approved. I had to go back in and do the same thing. So I have a second account, but it took a while to get that one too. It wasn't instant, not like the United States. But if I'd applied for an account without Social Security, well, they wouldn't have done the Social Security until I was actually in a different status. But as far as when I was here for about a year, I did, and they wouldn't, because I was on a tourist visa. And even though I was here for more than a year, they wouldn't do it. It's up to each individual bank. It is not a given. So for me, it is difficult. But you are going to get the ones that are going to say, "Hey, no problem. I don't think it is." And so you would want to do that. Now, there are others that do start their accounts in the United States, because there is, I believe that's the Bank of the Philippines. You can, and you can put your deposits in there and start it. But I've heard other people say that they weren't able to connect the accounts. You guys will really have to check into that. And it changes. It changes. It could have totally changed by now what's going on, but I know it's not easy. So, will you guys ever buy land and build a house or move away from Luzon? No, we're never going to move away from Luzon. Never an intention to ever leave outside of here. We're too close to the airport. All the good hospitals are here. The doctors that I use is here. There's no way. It's one of the most stable areas. And no, never. Unless we fall into a huge sum of money and I just don't want to deal with anything anymore, then the answer is no. We don't have the finances to do that. We never had the intentions to have the finances to do that. And George's family, all of them are pretty well off. And so there's nobody to leave a house to. We have kids, total about 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I'm trying to calculate how many. We have several children that it could, but they're not going to move over here and uproot their family life if we pass away to come, well, family life, by God, by the time we pass away, our kids will be up there too. So, but they're not going to come here for the house. So the answer is no. We're not going to do it to vlog for numbers. We're not going to do it to say things fell apart or to use it for entire content. I think it's a major problem because the law states 99% you don't own that land. You can get a long-term lease and as an expat and then build the house, but then something could happen. Some people say they've hired in attorneys and they've made full arrangements and the house is in their name and they can do whatever. The rules and laws state it's not yours. You can go through a commercialized side of it, condos. We would get a condo before we would consider building anything on land and going through that. The best laid plans have fell apart on building. I would say 2 out of 10 houses built here go right. And they absolutely had exuberant amounts of money, like large amounts. So they had time, and a lot of them lived outside in the US while they waited for this to be built. They'd come back, check on it and all that. No, if you don't have the money to throw away, I wouldn't even think about it. So if you can lose, say, to build something decent, 100,000 US, 200,000 US, which is way cheaper than the United States, and if you can't afford to lose that, like walk away from it, then I wouldn't do it. So there's too many issues, too many scams to even consider that. We did at one point did consider getting one of those like loans or something to actually buy something, but when we realized you're talking 30 years to pay it off, and it is almost twice as much as our rent to make payments. I'm not going to double my rent to have nobody to give it to. It's just, yeah, it's a no. Just going to be smart about it. Renting is much better. And if we want to go move to Baguio and I get like a wild hair up George's ass and pull it, say, come on, let's go. Then we can go. I don't like the lockdown. So I like your local news coverage. It keeps me up to date in the Philippines, here in the state. Thank you so much. Yeah, there's a couple different things that are going on. Um, Trying to think. There were some other things. I had taken some notes this morning. No, pretty much it was they're on the hunt for the Korean shooter. The only other thing that I have an update on, and I may see about getting an interview, the Conan White guy, the British guy that was on in the news, and he said he had been scammed, conned, stabbed by his girlfriend, and we brought her on. You guys know that guy. There's a bunch more drama going on that, but I don't know. I wasn't able to fit it in this morning. I just found that she had emailed me. It looks like he's still on some tangent. Like he ended up collecting a couple hundred US dollars more towards being so sick, and his foot was ripped up, which has none of it was true, guys. All of that was just to get money. And his plan was to never leave the country, and he's still here. And he went silent after our last live stream, but he's been on the down low. Um, he's been the girlfriend, his last girlfriend, plus the woman that he claims stabbed him. He's been dropping their names and photos on. He created an XXX site and a what do they call the fans only? George always remembers for me. He created sites based on their names and photos and stuff, and he's dropping things to other people, and he's trying to get him in trouble, and he's doing all this weird stuff. And I told the girls, why haven't you reported him? But yes, and here's the thing. You know how the girl that he claimed that stabbed, the other one has access to his email, and they were dropping me emails. He actually is contacting the government trying to start problems with them now. So it's wild. So I don't know, I was going to cover that, and I'm like, oh, it's been a while since we covered it, but we may be able to get them both on at the same time. Be just like a girls' party. Maybe I can get him to wear curly wigs or something, but it's party. But yeah, so he's trying really hard to get him in trouble, and it is because you're not allowed to have those type of sites. It's actually illegal for Filipinas to have, or Filipinos. You're not allowed to possess those sites. It's considered, I forgot what the rule is, guys, but it's illegal. You can't have them. You can't have any XX sites. You can't put out those videos. You can't. You just can't. And so he's starting trouble with these two girls, as he always has. And so it was the Daily Mail. So I don't know. I might get him to come in, but kind of interesting. Hey, what's going on? I think she's here in the room just now. Yeah, it's 9:16. She was in here earlier. Good morning. So she is here. She is in the room today. So I say we get together and that both girlfriends come on and let us know. But here's the thing, the guy needs to be deported 100% for the things he's done. He hasn't renewed his immigration in years. He claims that he's being held captive out in Mindanao. He said he's been saying all kinds of things. It's been like full defamation on these Filipinas. And I told those girls, you need to just outright go to the office and report him. So, but it shall be interesting. And yes, good morning. There she is. Hey, Ruby, what is going on? Hey, what's going on? Philip, I will say hi. He's extremely busy. Like I said a few months ago, I didn't think he would ever actually come back on, but every now and then or in some videos. So, because it's just different now. So, with the you guys hear that? They call it the billetang, um, shoulder to shoulder together. They're doing the military, the United States and the Philippines are doing their yearly whatever where they get together and practice for mock military attacks or something. But they've been flying usually about give or take this time. I heard them last night, like late at night. They must have been flying around in the dark. Now that I think about it, but yeah, I hear the jets above. So, and I will. I hope all first time viewers subscribe. It's well worth it. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it. Alternative is for George to go to a small Pelco office aside from Dow. My DAP office has shorter queues for payments. It's not worth going to those offices. The only reason we went the last time because there's online payments and we've been pretty successful at that. Was several months ago because it's when the bill came in and the delay in payment, we were down to the last 2 days. There was something else that happened. There was some because they don't give you very long to pay the bill. In the United States, you have X amount of time to pay the bill. Here, literally, we only get like a 7-day. Once it arrives, it's like 7 days. So you've only got like a week to 10 days to pay it. And so, yeah. But no, there's several online payments now. And so I've got 2 secure ones that we just take it from the bank or Gcash. So there's no reason to go sit over there anymore. And I don't know about that. Yeah, I don't know about how long it is there, but yes, it takes forever at the main office for sure. But thank you, Ruby. I'll keep that in mind in case, yeah, I mean, the internet goes down or we can't. Yeah, it's better than going there. So it's good to know. Let me write that down. So thank you. Hey, what's going on, Kev? What is going on? Bad boy. Gotcha. Okay, that's right, because that's your name on the side. Hey, Raymond. Ask any questions, like in regards to, coming here that you think is or isn't true. Because usually people got questions about different things, or they just don't want to ask. I don't care. I'm just going to say it. I'm in the U.S. The nosy OC. Okay, gotcha. Hey, Tony, you're late to the party. Well, not really. I'm answering at 9:20. That's still early. Want to move to the Philippines in 5 years? What's it like being a female expat there? Well, here's the thing. We're actually a rare breed. And the only thing for me is you're the odd man out here, whether you're big, small, tall, or whatever, whether I was 100 pounds or 500 pounds. And I'm not, by the way. I'm a big girl, though. I'm the normal size that can buy clothes out of Walmart. So if you're big, small, no matter what color you are, you're going to stand out as a foreigner. And so they're going to stare at you. It's not like in Egypt. When I was there, people would like walk up and want to practice their English. They were really bold there. Here, Filipinos will just lurk at you, like literally from a distance. You'll get this. And it's like that in Egypt. They would just run up to me and say, "Hey, can we speak English?" And they're friendly and they're very forward there. Here, they're just gonna stare at you. You're gonna get this from a distance. You're gonna get, and so you're like, "Wait a minute, sir. I got something in my nose," and then you just get over that, and then you're going to see a large amount of older men here with younger Filipinas. It's like, "Oh, cool, he got him some," and then you're kind of like, you kind of adjust to the things. But that it is because the other part is I had to get used to the animal poverty, which meaning there's a lot of sick animals that are on the streets. Dogs, cats are in bad shape. It's how people deal with their kids, how the kids are, kind of, super free. Like how long ago was it? There were kids across the lot setting things on fire, and George's like, that's normal. And I'm like, well, it can kind of reach our house, dude, and our car and trike is out there. And so it's the passiveness that you have to get by. I had to learn patience, and as a female that's emotional all the time and feeling sorry about the way things are going, it's an emotional drain. I guess it can happen for males too. Um, but it's an adjustment when you're running your own household and um and especially if you're by yourself and the adjustment. It's been one of the more difficult countries that I've been in as far as making adjustments, but it can be done because at the end of the day, what stays in the back of my head is one, I've been here for years and established my life, and my husband's Filipino, and the other part is I don't want to like uproot and pay the money. It's way too expensive to go back to the US now. So you adapt and you're like, oh hell, okay. And then you remember and everything. But I don't know. Like I said, the biggest thing is adapting. And so that's the hardest thing. Um and a lot of them that are here aren't staying very long. Like they're here for business. They're over in BGC and Makati. To me, it's way too expensive. It's not in our budget to go live over there long term. And at least until George gets more additional income, like when he gets his Social Security, that a couple thousand to our thing, then we could go live over there. But right now, on him having some money and me having some money, it's definitely not enough to go live in Makati. And so for those that are really wanting something inexpensive and fun, and they have the income, then I would say go live in BGC, not as much as Makati. But yeah, it's adjustable. So it's doable and way more expensive. Um, yeah, it just is. Hey, Sperlin, what's up? I know I've been orphaned for a long time. Holy Shirley Temple. Okay. Yeah, I get that. I get the curls and everything. So and now with my round moon face from Hi Laura, good morning. Good morning. I did not know that you had a channel. So good morning to you. I did sign up for your channel and watch some of your videos. So historically, USD to Filipino, it was under 20 to 1. Yeah, probably initially. Yeah, I was just talking about when we first entered the country 4 years ago. I believe it was somewhere between 42 and 47. But I believe George corrected me and people did on air. It was at 47 4 years ago. But yeah, oh yes, well, of course, I could. And if that does, how's it going to change for people? If you're really only getting 1 to 20 in the cost here, that's going to be a big change for me. Now, if that does happen, then there might be some, because to me at this point, in order to live a so-so life, we're going through over 2,000 a month right now, US, anywhere between 1,800 to 2,000, no frills. In other words, we're not going to vacation every month. We don't have a car payment and a brand new car. We don't go through and go to the mall every day. We don't buy purses. We're not living the super luxury life, but to some Filipinos, we probably are. And if it drops to that, then that's substantially going to change some things, man. Let me take a look. I want to see something. Yeah, I mean, that's just going to outright change the cost of everything for us as expats versus our dollar. Bye. Okay. So why is that doing that? All right. So like right now with the exchange, like if our rent is at the 10,000 pesos, we're paying 172 US dollars a month. Okay. If it drops historically again because everything bottoms out with the economy the way it's going, our rent will be 500 a month. Hell no, I am not paying $500 a month for living here. I'm gonna tell you that right now. I'm not doing it. I'm not that. I get where the prices are in the U.S., but I can go get a job here and forget about getting a job. That's another panic that I've had since I've been here. It's always in the back of my mind that your Social Security can drop out. It's always in the back of my mind that if we're wiped out by a medical issue and all that, there is no ability to get a job here. You can try to get something online. It's way more difficult than you guys think to get something sustainable. Can I do it? Yes. If I put my mind, I'm not going to do it because I'm not working. And to think about that, you just ain't going to get a job here. And there's already Filipinos struggling. You just forget about having a job here. And so if my rent was to cost 500 versus 2 for what they're charging, I mean, honestly, this same place is half the price. It's probably about 5,000 pesos out in the country. So out in the province, okay? So it's just a so-so place. I mean, it's comfortable enough. We made it ours. You have to do that. And so, but infrastructure wise, it's just not worth $500. For $500 right now, you can get like out in the province, there are places with swimming pools and the place is 4 times bigger. So I'm just saying it's not worth 500. So if it drops, people are screwed. And so that'd be, and then you can't go and get no job. So, and it will mess with the Filipinos too if all this starts changing. Well, actually, it won't really do that because they're going to be being paid pesos. So if they're already getting 15, 20,000 in pesos, well, anyway, so it's just really going to be a mess. Hey, what's going on? Hot Thursday morning, and it's going to be when my daughter got here, she said it was so hot that it feels like the devil is breathing on her. So she left back to the United States. Now it's a real deal. It is. It's extremely hot. It is. I can't even begin to tell you. And here's another thing, and I'm sure the comments will pour in. It's just like no matter what you do, you're sweating. I don't care how big or small. I've seen small people with sweat marks on their backs, on their shirts, and you sweat. And something I never had to deal with in the United States is that much sweating. Even when I've been 100 pounds bigger than I am now, which I was, I've lost weight. And when I was bigger, I still didn't sweat like this. And I told George I'm sweating where I didn't know I could sweat. Like my eyeballs were sweating. That was a real thing. We actually at one point made a t-shirt that said that. It's so hot, my eyeballs were sweating, my ears were sweating, like inside and everything. And it changes. Like I never, if you take a shower in the morning by noon, even with the AC here, I'm still sweating in the house here. The humidity's high. And it's like you can smell like a vinegar bomb. It smells to me like George smells like vinegar. I know I smell like vinegar, but I got hypersensitive smell. And it's just a real thing. And it's something. And I used to be pissed about that at the beginning. I was like, you never said it's hot. He goes, I said it's hot. Yeah, you literally said it's hot there. And I'm like, well, I'm living in Florida. It can't be that bad. It's going to be hot. Okay. It's going to be cheap there. And things were not as cheap as what we thought when we arrived because George had not been home in a while. And he said, oh, I told you. Well, no, I didn't know it'd be twice as expensive as Mexico, same infrastructures. And so there's a lot, but So I'm surviving, you know. I'm not a walking ad for the Philippines tourism board or anything either. So, but it's hot. Hot is my biggest complaint. The cost versus the infrastructure is my next one for sure. Eeh. Here in Venezuela City, it's illegal to burn trash, but they do. It's illegal in all the areas. It's illegal to do anything, but they do it anyways. The rules are set here in the Philippines and they 100% break them constantly. You can just, there's too many political figures scratching each other's backs in all the cities. So technically, I really couldn't even call somebody to say something because there'll be somebody in this neighborhood that's connected to the guy at the police station. There's so much nepotism and favoritism here based on money and knowing somebody you're in another country. It's just, but it's going to be like that in the US where things are just out of control. I just, just do you when you get here. There, I'm not worried about stepping outside, and it's not like other countries where you step outside and you got to worry about being controlled by gang members or being, offed by a gun or something like that. No, it's not like that. But you do have the everyday issues that are going on. Can you deal with them like that? It's like the kids setting things on fire across the street. Nobody would have done anything. Even if you would have called, nobody would have done anything, and you can't confront their parents. And we've had gangs of kids. Now they stopped. Now, knock on wood, I'll probably bring them back by talking about, they used to go up and down the street. We have a trash can on the outside of our gates. They used to break those apart. They used to climb our fence. They used to throw rocks at our dogs for like no reason. And these are the same kids we used to give snacks to, and they'll sit out there and do that until you come give them snacks. And so we just stopped doing it, but then they still come by and do this stuff. You can't do nothing. I told George, you guys heard me on air, I'm going to hose them down is what I told him. And so it was a joke. And so, but there's a lot, and you're in another country, so you need to avoid fights, and you need to be as respectful as possible and respect the culture and the people, because Filipinos are very sensitive, and I understand that. You can't bring your mentality and Western ways here. You should try to adjust as much as possible, but you still got to be somewhat true to yourself. If you can't just hang, then you got to go back. The moment I feel that I'm ready to like wig out, literally wig out of my wig, then I got to go back. I'm not at that point. At some point, I tipped into 100% range, probably at 60%, where I thought, this is it. Something's going to happen, But there was a lot going on. There was personal things going on with George. There was things going on with his family. There was YouTube drama going on. We had overworked ourselves, like doing things around the house. We had just moved. That's when we first moved here. We were putting a household back together. Like there were too many outside things going on. And then all of a sudden we were like, wait a minute, we came here to chill. We had to reset. So you reset, go somewhere, do something, and that should reset you. But if you ever feel that way, you have to get out. Mark Thornton comes to mind, that he would get that much into issues that he would just freak that bad out at that coffee shop and go outside and fight with Dexter. And then unfortunately he passed away, with medical issues and things going on. But they said the stress never went away after that lawsuit was filed. And the charges. So you just don't want to get to that point either. So, yeah. I lived in Sweden last year. It was minus 30. It was likely lower, but my thermometer is all maxed out at negative 30. It's a big change for me in the Philippines now. Yeah, I bet. I froze in Mexico. It dropped to about 30 and 40 at night. We were in the mountains, and it was too much on my joints and with my lupus and everything. I really, even though I'm big and I was like George's teddy bear and everything. No, it was cold. He would have to keep almost a constant fire. Even in the day at 50 degrees, we kept fires going in the house. We had a fireplace inside. But it just got to my bones. But there's an extreme difference here with where you get sweating, and then I get itchy and my skin breaks out and pins and needle feeling. And There's a name for that. It's called prickly heat. And I've kind of gotten over that, but sometimes by the end of the day, I'll get where it gets like where I feel like it's on my arms and around my neck and stuff. I just do the baby powder. I used to think baby powder was funny when I seen it on Filipinos and their sweat towels, and I was like, who? And now here I am doing it, and you don't care who sees it. Really, I don't care. Like, and that's another thing. I know it doesn't matter, but like for some women or guys, bad hair days is constant for me here. My hair was curly, thicker, and everything else when I was in the United States. There was never any issues. I have a feeling it's the water, the humidity. I think the water is the biggest thing that plays. It seems like one week it smells like bleach, and then the next week it smells like rust, and it's a real thing. And now I am fighting with severe hair loss, but that could be several factors for me right now with my illnesses. But bad hair days, man. One thing my hubby enjoys in the Philippines is that he doesn't get hay fever attacks compared to here in Australia. There's something, some permanent flu thing going on here. And guys talk about when they leave and they get back, they're sick afterwards. When they arrive, they first get sick. And it's a real thing. You guys should bring, I have Benadryl around the house. Sometimes a few times a week, I'm taking Benadryl when I go to bed. And so it's allergies, it's sinus issues. It's almost seems to be an ongoing flu for foreigners. I don't know if they're adjusting to everything, whether it's slight stress and the water they're drinking, which you shouldn't be drinking the water, but the adjustment to food that is in the water. There's a many factors that could be causing it. We need to get you a private yacht, right? That's probably about the only way that I'm going to go. If somebody says, "Hey, we'll come by and pick you up, good looking," I'm like, "Hey, yo, say, big girl, get aboard." I like watching travel channels from my living room chair. Gotcha. Yeah, I hear you. That's something I wanted to do once we get caught up on a few things. I told George that, we've had this couch for several years and the cats have made it into a claw cushion right now. And so we haven't bothered for the last year or so getting anything different. But I want to get like they got them big recliner chairs for big girls. And I want to get like two of them so we can just sit here side by side and just sit and recline while we do our live streams. But the problem is that the way they build some of the houses, they're like narrow, and ours is more like a townhouse, which it is. This is an exact townhouse structure that we had when I was growing up as a kid. The two bedrooms upstairs and a bathroom upstairs. We have a balcony upstairs, and they're all connected together. And so it's more narrow in here. So if we put the recliners, it's so close. I don't think I can reach the staircase from here, but it's narrow inside. They're more longer this way. So there's a pathway through here, but I would have to find a way. There's stuff that stairs is interrupting the flow of the room. So I'd have to find a good place to place the chairs. That's the problem. And the plugs. That makes a difference on where we put things. There's no plugs in these houses. Eeh. Hey, what's going on, Journey and Behold? We squeeze oregano juice and take a shot every morning and evening. It works great for illnesses and prevention. What's the other thing that they use? It's like some sort of, it comes in a jar that they use for flu here. It's got ginger and something else. There's another name. It's it might be a Chinese thing, but I seen it in the stores. I can't remember what it's called, but yeah, or ginger or something. So interesting. Filipinos nowadays would rather go to Thailand or Vietnam than go to domestic tourist destinations because it's crazy expensive. Thailand and Vietnam have the most amazing place food. Well, those both are probably more of a destination for tourism than the Philippines these days. Philippines is losing their tourism again. It came up and then now it's going back down again. And I think that the biggest thing that are drawing people to live here over the other countries is the English barrier. I know that if we had our chance to live at these other places versus the Philippines, if the costs all change, we would just go back to Mexico because the other countries has a language barrier. And at least in Mexico, George speaks Spanish and I speak some. and it's way cheaper there no matter what. And so um that would be my deal, but I do hear Vietnam over Thailand. And so but Thailand has a it's probably if you're a guy, you're talking to me and George that are married, and George has minimal wandering eyes, so I'm not really worried about the women and all that, but because of all the women and stuff and things that go over in Thailand. It's more of a guy vacation destination. It's okay to go to the tourist areas as couples and all that, but Vietnam is what I hear is going on. I think people choose the Philippines 100% hands down because of the English. They say that they're more friendly. Now, according to the guys, they have the most beautiful women. They just like the way the Filipinas look. I told George I would agree. The features that I see in the Filipinas are the Hispanic for sure. After being in Mexico, when the first time I got here, I said, "Wow, these are the Mexicans of the of Asia." And he goes, "You can't say that." And I was like, "But they do. They have the beautiful round faces, or the faces and this and the everything." To me, it was because I lived 6 months in Mexico and all the Hispanic people in Florida. Florida got to be where you would see a few Spanish people in the late 70s and 80s. And then all of a sudden, it's just a booming population of Hispanics. And so, no, it's just they are the Hispanics of Asia. And so I think they like the culture here too. So but I really believe the barrier. But now I have done videos that there is still a language barrier. When I had the landlord and the electrician, they probably only understood part of what I was saying because George let me explain what had happened. And George would have to translate. So, and then if I waited and waited, they just didn't answer me. Now I know Filipinos tend to do this and they stare. Now that's another thing. When they're communicating, they'll sometimes just go, "Okay, you'll fix it tomorrow," and then they leave. It's like, dude, are you? So I didn't feel that I had enough clarification, and you guys may find that with your spouses, your Filipino girlfriend, and all that. There's going to be a lot of miscommunications because Filipinos, I feel, they're non-confrontational in a good way and a bad way, and so they're so reserved and quiet, but worry, man, because they're hot rocks too, man. They can pop off just like that. So you don't want to cross them, and you want to have patience. So it's kind of like you just baby them, love them. But so that's just the way it goes. You can still have the language barriers, but it's way better. Like when I was in Mexico, I could barely communicate with anybody. That was frustrating. So I find it to be really good. Yeah, see, now I feel like I still think there's stuff on these mic covers that came from, and I doesn't happen until I get on the live. Amazing Philippines was probably one of the best. Yeah, mm, have there's a lot of channels. Yes, Amazing Philippines. Yeah, some of those have appeared on our channel since we've been on, but they're just ones initially that we didn't watch. So I'd probably have to go look. Oh, yes, of course, he's been on our channel. So, but he wasn't initially a channel that we had watched. And has he been actively, just because it says 2016 doesn't actually mean that that's actually when he started, but I know that he's been here a while. So, no. Yeah, he has a great channel. Yeah. Just haven't watched a ton of his stuff. Lucky for us, we get house help 2 times a week, 1,000, okay, 8 hours recommended by a and it has to be. You're absolutely right, Ruby. My issue has either been finding the time where you can actually be there and that somebody that's trusted. So, and it's gonna take a while. I guarantee, like, for us, I don't wanna pay that money, like, we've done this probably 4 or 5 times. And every time we bring somebody in, they pretty much don't do a whole lot during them 2, 3 they should be here longer than just a few hours, and if you don't advise them what to do and constantly stand on top of them, they just don't do it. So we end up getting just mopping and sweeping. They wipe the walls down and then they wanna leave. I'm not going to pay somebody for 2 hours to take a mop and run it on the wall and then sweep and mop. I mean, I do that already, and I get it. I need more of somebody that's going to go through and fully clean the bathrooms, and but it's hard with the amount of money paid, and you're saying for 8 hours. So I've tried to figure a balance in doing that of somebody trusted, somebody that'll do it. A lot of people have people that come in and move, like they move in and pay them the fees. And so you can. Services is another bonus of Southeast Asia that things are inexpensive. So yes, somewhat we have. What it'd be is it probably exactly what we're paying now. So for the amount of power that will cover, as I'm to understand, and looking like what they put and everything, it would pretty much be what we're paying an electric bill now, but as I'm to understand, it takes 10 years, 10-year loan or something to actually put it in here. So by then we may need new equipment. That's been our delay. And yes, it would stop the power outages, but there are issues and things to do with that. And like George says, they won't do it here because we don't own it. They're liable to come out here. I bet we could and just get the landlord to okay it. But I don't know if we're going to be staying here for 10 years. So that would be my problem is, what if, with all the changes in the world, the uncertainty in the United States and Asia and China, I don't know if I want to invest in a 10-year loan on anything or build something. What if everything dumps upside down, including Social Security? And there's a lot of guys relying on that. I'm telling you right now they are. Then what? So there is a lot of uncertainty, and can you handle that on top of everything else I'm talking about? So it's good morning, Slick Rick from San Francisco. It's important to have the ACR card passport to be able to open the account. Yes. But remember, as a tourist, you're given an ACR card and it'll say just that. Some banks have been known to do it, but very little. I'm gonna let you know the banks all turned me down here. So if anybody else got it, it's called nepotism or inside or people they knew. Then they'll approve it. I'm not sucking up to anybody, and I'm not going to, have a friend of a friend open the account for me anyways. So it's just not happening. So can it be done? Yes, if you really know somebody, but you really need to be in a permanent status before banks are open. And you probably just don't want to, put too much into it. And remember, anything over 10,000 US that's actually in there, because there are people that will load a bunch of money in there, then it goes back to the United States as reported as, I don't know how they do, it's a taxable thing. And remember, you're not insured over that amount either. So anything over 10,000 per bank, not per account. If you have 5 accounts with 500,000, which is, I'm just rounding it at 50 pesos per dollar. 500,000 pesos. I think they upped that recently on their coverage of the bank itself. In case something happens, it's per bank, not per account. So, and it might be per all the way across. So, in other words, it's not just that branch. I think it's for like BPI itself. So, you got to be, and I know for sure if you have 5 accounts with 500,000, it's only up to one amount. So, unless they've changed that recently. Banking is crazy in the Philippines and the States. If you have an account and almost any bank branch is available in the state. Yeah. When I get to the Philippines, I'll be using Charles Schwab, no transfer charge. Check into that because a lot of those changed in the last 6 months. We had a few people that used to deal with a lot of investments and all that stuff. And they said some of the rules changed for some of them. I don't know what it was, but it had something to do with investments and different things. So, but yes, I heard that at some point that Charles Schwab, that you could actually do that. And I don't even know how that even works. I've never even thought about like say, hey, can I drop 10,000 of our money and open it up online? I guess we would transfer it into there from another bank, or do you have to physically be there to sign up? I don't know. And are they wanting a US account or a US address? Remember, really, you guys need to, if you're moving here on a permanent basis, I do feel the people that leave their family addresses and rely on that over in the United States while they live here for the rest of their lives is another whole issue in itself. Then they tell you to get one of those online, which we have used before, but the where you have mail sent there, but then they start giving us a hard time about they need these forms updated. When it changed and they needed a bunch of extra stuff, we quit. So there was one way to set it up many years ago, and then they required a form later, and then we just have mail sent to a family home there, and we have our mail here. The only thing we have sent back in the United States is like if my driver's license renews or George's or something, it would go to the other family home. But besides that, I don't know if they need you to have a US address, or I just wouldn't have the banking stuff sent there. But there's a lot of different things. You have to get the banking in order too. You could interview the local police to find out more about the Korean guy's incident. Yeah, no, no, no. That's I trust that about as much as I trust the government in the United States. Yeah. I knew he was a thug. Yeah, there it is. Billikatan. Yeah, it means shoulder to shoulder. I mentioned that and now I'm getting the itchies myself. Mm. When banking in the Philippines, ATM is the way to go. In drawing funds anywhere in the Philippines to avoid fees, choose big banks. Yeah, most definitely. We were either transferring the money on the Social Security, which was costing us another amount, the bank we had charged, and then or taking out by ATM. We tended to take it out by ATM, and so there was X amount of fees. Our bank did not have the no fee thing. So thank you so much. What is going on? We used to go to Mr. Jim Boyd, RAO, and Billy Bago when we needed to do some paperwork for the IRS. He's such a nice guy as well as staff. Okay. Gotcha. There are a lot of legit services you can use for immigration that'll help, or for taxes, or different things to help with the banking. So, nope, do not. Which is an odd question. So, but hello, what is going on? My 11-year-old here since 2014. Street children always hang around fast food restaurants or parking lot. Yeah, and they actually, yeah, that was my first experience. As soon as we got off the airport, we were supposed to go to the quarantine. Like they put us through all these things. We were fully double masked and everything. We were supposed to go straight to the hotel. The guy stopped at a Jollibee anyways. They were like on a skeleton crew, and three or four kids ran up to the car and they were beating. It was an oversized van, and they were, they would not leave us alone. And the driver's like, go away, go away, go away. And so it was like, okay, that was like almost my first experience. And that was supposedly when people were supposed to be locked down. So yeah, it was kind of. Hey, MJ is in the house. Just looking, there's a delivery later. Thanks for subscribing, Heidi. It's a random channel. Yeah, that's really nice. That's really nice. It's refreshing to see the other female expats. So I have actually reached out to other female expats, and their channels are fairly small. and they wouldn't even. We've offered to do interviews. We've got a bunch of other interviews where we've talked to people, but they just don't get back. And I understand that too. You know, as far as doing interviews and trying to hook up. Hey, Pablo, what is going on? Hello, Heidi. Keep the AC on all day, please. It is super, super humid. Yeah. And it's a lot harder if it goes down. So when we have these 15, 20-minute power outages, the other day it was an hour. It does take a while. I feel that that is what's causing the AC to struggle. Um, and so, yeah, it's Alongapo used to be very orderly when Gordon used to be mayor. It was clean, peaceful, sad. It's not what it used to be. Alongapo. Yeah, we went through there. Hey, what is going on, MJ and Venus? We have not dropped in on your channel. Guys, be sure to check out MJ and Venus. They are in the house. Sweet people. He used to be on the live stream all the time. We haven't. I tried to get George to open the panel up the other day. I probably will because you'll be seeing more of me do the live streams. I might start opening up the panels again just to talk to people. But yeah, it's been a while. Yeah, well, we used to have him come on. He was our first volunteer in the beginning. So love you guys. Calamine lotion, cornstarch for prickly heat works for me. Yeah, and a lot of guys think it's a joke. They think it's a big girl thing. I keep hearing this crap about big girl this and big girls or big people, and skinny guys need it too, man. They still George needs it too. It's a real thing. It is a real thing. And then, add on top of it, I'm hypersensitive with the lupus. It's like almost like raw nerves sometimes. And sometimes I have to take Benadryl to take care of it in broad daylight. And so here's the deal. So then you're tired, right? And you're all zoned out and you're in the air conditioning and you're like somebody scratching your belly and you're half asleep watching your gaming channel and you're just watching your shows or a movie and all of a sudden the power, I hear click and I'm like, what the? I'm telling you what, I'm like, what the? And, and then it's like, now George used to get blamed for that stuff highly in the beginning. It was like, damn it, George, damn it. And I used to be like that, damn it. And he's like, what'd I do? And then he just became like a bulldog on it. It was like, calm down, George. It's okay, And so, because now he's like, what's going on? But you adjust and you change. Turmeric. Okay, yeah. Yeah. Turmeric was the other thing. Hey, what is going on, Corey Neller? So true. It's also hard for me to hire helpers, even if it's recommended. As a Filipino, I got trust issues, as you should, because it's and my concern is there's so many businesses here, way more than you can imagine in the United States, and a lot of them aren't licensed or business licensed. There's no insurance, there's no responsibilities, and you can hire. Now, if you guys have the heavy duty funds, you should do it properly. You should hire the ones that you pay all their Paggy Big and all their tax stuff, and you take care of them properly. If you have the high funds, you go to these agencies and you hire in the keepers to come into your house, and they live in your house, 6-month contracts. You pay, I think it's 300 or 400 US. They vet them. They do psychological backgrounds. They do, like, some of these services are really highly, where they can be used, and they do all these background checks for you, and then they place them in your homes, and they're under contract, and then you just have to train them. It's probably going to take you 2 months to get them to do things. My problem is usually when it's just a house cleaner, they are only responsible for cleaning your kitchen sink and lifting things up and wiping underneath there and that stuff. But you may not even get that from the house cleaners. They'll just do the basics cleaning. We probably need more of an assistant housekeeper, someone that'll help organize, go, walk the dog or go out and do things in the yard. It's kind of like an all in all. And there are people like that, but usually they're like the actual political guy up the street has one or two that do everything. They go to the market, they do the cooking, they deal with their pets, they deal with their kids, getting them off to school. They are an all in one, but you're probably going to pay up there in price. You're probably looking, I don't know, his came from an agent. I think they're just family to family passed down, like George's family. They have house people. And so I don't know, 20,000 a month. 30,000 a month for a high-end one. So it depends, guys. But that's still 500. You're not going to get that in the US. So if you're coming here on 2,500 to 3,000 a month for 500 US, you guys can have an outright assistant that can help you and help you cook and clean as an elderly person. It's almost like a personal assistant, somebody that'll kind of nurse you a little bit. You know, they don't have a nursing degree, but I always tell people, they ask about the old people's home, like what if they get sick, nursing facilities. Really, for 600 US, you could bring somebody in that'll take care of you, you know, and they're living and stuff. And guys do that. But the problem is they take shortcuts and they bring in girlfriends instead, not even wives. They don't even wife these people. They try to go under the table and they girlfriend them up. Sometimes they wife them up, and they, you know, and it's disastrous. It's very disastrous. They try to take a shortcut. The disaster I see is that expat recently that took on the 20-year-old girl. The girl wasn't even 21. She's 20 and never even left her neighborhood. And I'm like, oh, dang. He got her out in the province. And that's not even a joke. And I'm like, and they know that. They watch those other channels. They know the other channels. They know the risk. They know all that. And they still, you know, oh, this one's going to be different. Sure. What's happening? Pablo, Patriot for Life. Forethought, there is going to be a lot of single Ukrainian Russian women now. So many of the men, yeah. Bet few coming to the Philippines. Yeah. There's the political truck. Can you guys hear that? And they're different songs and different ones. So there's. Can you guys hear that? We've got noise cancellation, so sometimes it's got to be really loud if you hear that. Here's another thing. With the doors closed, a concrete wall, we have extra coverings on the front window because there's like plastic to keep the air from coming in because the air conditioning's on. You can hear everything. And the same with being in a neighborhood with a basketball court and everything. So it's really loud. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap this up. I am at the second hour. If you're not subscribed, be sure to subscribe and to leave comments about the live stream today. And I appreciate our members being here and everybody being here. If you're not a member, consider membership. I believe it's that the Fan Antics level is a few dollars a month. It just supports different things with the channel and having the channel, and helps keeps the lights on here at Antics headquarters, and pays for my wig funds and George's funeral funds. So we appreciate the support that comes through on the channel. Thank you so much, Harry. Good night. Lucca, thank you so much. MJ, thank you for dropping in. Laura, thank you so much. Big shout out to Sarah. Big shout out to Ted. Ruby was in the house. See, just trying to find what members were in the house today. Jennifer Wilson dropped in like a spot, of course. Sweet Caroline, thank you. M Doggy, full trouble. Tony was in the house. Victor C, thank you. MB, smile, be happy. Alan, thank you, guys. And again, live streams normally are Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then maybe something in between. Maybe we'll get some updates. So, all right, guys, talk to you guys later.